It was under the terms of that deal that Pat Moynihan chose Sonia Sotomayor to be the first Hispanic federal judge in New York State. The first President Bush sent her name to the Senate, where she was quietly confirmed without controversy in the heat of an election year on August 11th, 1992. Those were the good old days of judicial confirmations. If President Obama sends the same name to the Senate that President Bush sent in 1992, Sonia Sotomayor's nomination will be instantly attacked by a team of Republican operatives who are building their war machine right now. One of them is Scott Wheeler, Executive Director for the National Republican Trust Political Action Committee, and he joins me now. Scott Wheeler, if Sonia Sotomayor's name goes to the Senate, what will your position be?
Well, I think Sotomayor has put herself in a category that suggests she's exactly the wrong nominee, and that is that she believes that you make law from the bench. She said so in an impromptu videotape that's surfaced on the web. And
do you want to quote what she said, or you just want to summarize it that way?
Well, I think that's do you disagree?
No, I do. What she said was that the appeals court sometimes makes policy, and that is absolutely true. Trial courts are not allowed to make any sort of judicial policies. They can only use the rules as they are written by the appeals courts. Making policy is exactly what appeals courts are designed to do. They make trial policy. They make judicial policy.
Then why did she say she wasn't supposed to say that on the same video?
She did not say she wasn't supposed to say that.
She said, I know we're not supposed to talk about that. That's almost a verbatim quote. She said, I know we're not supposed to talk about this. But, and so, aren't you guys the ones for transparency?
What she meant was, there are wild attack machines out there, like yours, that will try to pick a pack.
What's wild about us? What do you mean, you say wild attack machine? Who have I attacked wildly and without fact?
You will distort, as you've already tried to do here, you will distort anything.
I quoted what the woman said.
Any judge says, or anyone says, who
well,
then
if quoting what she said is a distortion, then we've got a real problem here.
You did not quote what she said.
You said paraphrase, and I said, do you disagree? And you said, well, what she meant to say. I think my quote was much closer to what she actually said. And if it wasn't the case, then why did she immediately say, I know we're not supposed to talk about this?
How else are you going to attack her if she's the nominee?
How do you get transparency about this?
How else are you going to attack her if she's the nominee besides that quote?
That's not enough? The fact that she thinks she's an appointed lawmaker? We have a branch that makes laws.
She didn't say she's an appointed lawmaker. It's not going to work. I got to tell you, you got to come up with something better. This is someone who got
words. That's going to be tough.
She got 67 votes in her last confirmation. Orrin Hatch voted for her, along with 6 other Republicans who voted for her in her last confirmation, who are still in the Senate. What are you going to say to them to change their votes?
Let's hope the Republicans in the Senate go up the yellow brick road and ask the wizard for some courage and actually play that tape and see if they can explain that to their constituencies at home and explain why they would vote for such a nominee.
And what will you, if she does get Republican votes in the Senate, or if the Obama nominee gets Republican votes in the Senate, will you go after those Republicans and try to take them out in primary elections?
I think we're going to do a lot to make sure the people in their home state know that they voted for this nominee.
Is it conceivable to you that Obama could pick a nominee that you would not attack?
Sure. Hey, I know that he's not going to do what Republicans often do and nominate someone from the opposite belief of him. But what if he just nominated someone like Mario Cuomo? That would be an excellent example of someone who could pass the Senate confirmation and probably not have any trouble with Republicans. But what I think most people in America, and I speak for Americans, not Republicans.
Is there anyone under 70 years old who Obama could choose who you would not oppose?
Oh, I'm sure there's a long list of them. But the fact of the matter, the standard is so basic. Just interpret the law. Don't make the law. Interpret it. That's not tough. It's not difficult.
Well, interpret the law is exactly what the appeals courts do, and in interpreting the law, they change the law. That is constitutionally exactly what they were designed to do. And whenever they change laws through interpretation, you people will always call that legislation.
Change the law?
Yes.
No, I think no, the law has changed in the legislative branch.
What they end up changing is
And
judicial.
what is these Supreme Court justices looking at Spanish courts and European courts and say, well, this is how they do it over there. That's where we're down the slippery slope where you go and have justices try and interpret the law rather than, or try and change the law rather than interpret the law. What was the intent of the founding fathers? And that's where we have gotten to where we are with all kinds of bad law, bad precedents, and that's the last thing we need at this point.
Is Sotomayor the one you fear the most because she is so politically powerful going in there as a woman and a Hispanic, and there's a tremendous amount of appeal across the board?
Let me ask you this. What does her race and her gender have to do with anything?
It has
Why
to
do
do
you
with
guys
politics.
continue to make that an issue? I thought we were beyond that.
It has to do with politics, as you know. There is a political element to that.
Well, is that the reason your side so viciously savaged Clarence Thomas?
President Bush, as you know,
because you were afraid of a powerful African American?
The second President Bush did a lot to try to appeal to the Hispanic vote. It is not uncommon in American politics to try to appeal. When Eisenhower chose Brennan, the reason he chose Brennan was he wanted an Irish Catholic from New Jersey for political reasons. This is not a new thing in our politics. And isn't it true that you guys see Sotomayor as potentially the strongest candidate going into this confirmation process in political terms?
I have no audio.
Oh, you can't hear me, Scott? All right, then we're going to bring in our panel then. We're going to have to go. Scott Wheeler, sorry we lost your audio.